Well, Congress and the White House claiming that they're going to get along, that they are going to come up with a solution for the fiscal cliff. But we all remember what happened last time they said they were going to do that, right? Well, joining us now is Brian Hamilton, CEO of Sageworks, a financial analysis firm for privately held companies. You wrote a piece, and I have to agree with you. Private companies are just too smart to hire right now. There isn't a trust, is there, Brian?
No, there's not. Here's the thing. They understand how to run a company, so they know that when revenues are lower than expenses, there's a problem. And especially if you consider that the federal government has been spending more and more money for 58 consecutive years, most businesses would get that after 1 or 2 years, they've got to get their revenues more than their expenses. So here's the thing. If we're going to ask them to hire people, and remember there's 27 million private companies in the U.S., they're not going to be comfortable unless they think that the umbrella under which they operate, i.e. the U.S. government, has its act together. And obviously, we don't. We owe too much money, and so it just makes them nervous. We did a survey recently, and it was fascinating, actually. We surveyed private companies, and 3/4 of them list the national debt as a major factor in their lack or their unwillingness to hire people, which is astounding.
And that would also go along with whether or not companies want to expand, opening up a new plant somewhere or, buying some new equipment like trucks or manufacturing equipment.
Sure, because remember, Michael, here's the thing. Every time a company buys a piece of equipment, that's a deferred cost. It costs money even if they finance it, they take out a loan, they hire an employee. These are all things that increase expenses, and what it does is it increases their risk. So if they perceive that the U.S. is under a risky environment, which it is, let's be honest, right? It's been a pretty anemic growth recovery, then they're going to be much more hesitant to expand their businesses. You just can't blame them. Look at the demographics of private companies. They're run by smart, these are not always equated, by the way, but college-educated people. And these people are savvy people. They know business, they know economics, and they know that we're under a real risky situation.
We're talking with Brian Hamilton, CEO of Sageworks. That's a financial analysis firm for privately held companies, about companies not trusting at this point until we have a fiscal cliff solution to hire or to expand. One of the other things, too, that they're very much keeping in mind is what's different than the last time? Nothing.
Yeah.
You have the exact same players and the exact same posturing.
Well, I'm dating myself a little bit, but here we go. I'm 49 years old, and here's the truth. The political environment, it's always easy to beat up on the politicians. We've been doing it for 200 years, Michael, but really it is true. There is no question historically that the atmosphere in Washington is so poisonous, and there's such a lack of cooperation. This is definitely fundamentally changed in the last 30 or 40 years, that all these agreements get deferred until the last minute. So here's the call from private companies to Washington. Even if your policy is not great, come up with it early so that we can plan our businesses. We don't even mind that the policy is not so hot, but we need enough run room to plan the business, and that's what's happening. All the policy making is being deferred to the last minute, literally, the words like cliff, right?
Yeah.
To the last second, and then they expect us or the private companies to go and hire people. That's not going to happen.
And that is something that we need to hear more and more of. As a matter of fact, that's what Washington needs to hear loud and clear.
Right.
Brian Hamilton, CEO of Sageworks, joining us tonight from Raleigh, North Carolina. Thanks for being with us on the Daily Wrap.
Hey, it's great to be here.